It's my favorite number. It's a good number.
Why is that your favorite number?
My grandpa's quarterback number, and I guess I just adopted it from there, yeah.
The impromptu start.
All right, sweet. So episode 12 of Stick Talk, the best podcast in my very biased opinion. Today we've got Greg
Impulsive, bro?
I said in my biased opinion. We're taking over Impulsive. We don't rock with Logan Paul anymore.
Nah.
But anyways, we got Greg Meade, co-founder of Glunt, Crossnet, bunch of other cool brands. Super excited to have him on. We have a lot of interest in e-commerce. This is like the first real e-com brand owner that's been in here. Entrepreneur, inventor. I'll let you make a brief introduction and just kick it off from there.
Dope. Greg Meade here, owner of Crossnet, good sport, best backyard games in the world.
Super dope, bro. So kind of walk us through that story, right? Because Crossnet's, like we were talking earlier, is like an innovation and invention. So how did that come to be? You talked a little bit about growing up playing sports, being like that inventor type. So walk us through like your journey.
Yeah, so Crossnet started one night. Me and my best friend Mike, he actually graduated from Northeastern. He's an engineer himself. He called me up one day. He's like, Greg, let's do something. Let's make something. Because he knew I was into other entrepreneur stuff, social media stuff. And he came over. We just jotted down game ideas, product ideas. We had wall speakers. We had everything. Until we came up with like Foursquare volleyball. It was a hit. We went to Walmart the next day, grabbed some badminton nets and just like rigged it up in my mom's backyard, and it was an absolute hit. We invited friends over, played, made the rules up, all that, and then we're like, wow, we need to like invent this and like bring it to market. We know this is gonna work, so we had to like IP check everything, see if there's patents and stuff. There was a patent out in San Diego. We had to fly all the way out, meet the guy, took a license deal, which is like we should have just bought it from him that day, but it's all good. Yeah, it's been a journey, and ever since then Crossnet's been skyrocketing the last 5 years, and while you're making this volleyball game and you come out with a pool version, soccer version, pickleball's coming out soon, you're kind of running out of Foursquare games you can make, right? So your SKUs are getting limited, but while this is all happening, unfolding, we have hundreds of ideas like of different games we can come out with. So that's when we invented Good Sport and met up with Danny Duncan, and we launched that recently.
So cool, man. I feel like you kind of understated the process of rigging a net in your backyard to having a fully finished product that's now available in Walmart, Target, pretty much any retailer, right? What was the process like getting that? Was your engineering friend the guy that made the actual product itself and brought it to market? Like, how was the trial and error period with coming on an actual product that you could sell and confidently scale?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I definitely skipped that a lot. So Mike, engineer, I guess we went on Alibaba that same night, right? And just like started like reaching out to different manufacturers, factories, right? What you can do for any product if you're ever trying to make something out there. Just go to Alibaba and just start messaging hundreds of suppliers until you get the best quote. So we got like samples made. Mike's in like the CAD, the blueprints, and like making tech packs and stuff. And like you send them over to your factories, and they end up facilitating and making it. You get samples, comes in 3 months. You get it, it's shitty. You got to redo it, and then it takes another 3 months. Such a long process. It took eventually like 12 months to get like a final product. We were comfortable with selling, finally launching. I think we bought 300 of them, just straight like burned every single dollar we had from me, Chris, and Mike's, our three founders' bank accounts, and the rest was history from there, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, I feel like in e-commerce, one of the biggest barriers to entry is like cost to start, because like you're making a product from scratch. It's not like agency services where you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna do marketing consulting and hop on a coaching call with you. So I guess kind of walk us through how you guys got over that barrier. Did you guys raise funds? Did you just scrap a bunch of money together? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was just straight bootstrapped. We actually just started raising funds. We took our first raise earlier last year. Not much though. So it's been bootstrapped since till date. You just literally take everything you have and you put it into the product, and then you sell, and then you have to do it again. It's a snowball effect, and you don't pay yourself out for 3 years. It took us 3 years, I believe, to get a paycheck, which is nuts. And then you can just get in this cycle and stuff. But I would recommend maybe getting a loan, raising if you need to, only if you need to. But other than that, stay like bootstrapped as much as you can if you need to.
So that was on Crossnet. Going before that to your very first brand, did you have a big savings built up from a job? Did you start off like reselling stuff, or like what was your first introduction in e-commerce?
So what I always recommend, like since I had that first business, Glunt, it was a smoking product, which I don't smoke, so it's funny we're in a cigar lounge. So while I was doing that, bootstrapping that, had another job at like a 4-H camp. I was like a guard shack, like just sitting there on my computer, like watching Shark Tank, like doing this, doing social media stuff. So I always recommend like having a job if you're trying to start something until you're comfortable and you can escape and leave that job. So you're always saving up money. So you get the money from the other job and you put it into your real business.
And was that process pretty similar? Were you just going on Alibaba trying to find the right product?
Yeah,
or?
for that, yeah.
Okay.
That was simpler.
Gotcha.
Not as crazy as Crossnet.
I have like a really random anecdote. We were talking about NFTs. I remember when like the Bored Ape Yacht Club founders were on a podcast, and they said that they went out to mint the Bored Apes, which were like couple $100 to mint per ape, and now they're worth like 100,000 or whatever they're at now. And they said when the mint went live, they sold like a 10% of their inventory, and the rest just sat there. I'm like, dude, this is a bust. How are we going to sell this? How are we going to actually mint out all of these apes? And obviously now it is what it is today. And the reason I'm making that analogy is like when you first went live with those 300 units, was it like an instant hit? Like everyone bought, you were sold out, or were you like,
we sold practically giving away?
We sold four. We sold 4 in the first day, and now we're sitting on 900 or 296 units of all of our money. And what do we do now? Like, how was that initial process?
Yeah, that's a good question or analogy. That's what happened. We sold, I think, 5 or 10 in the first like 2 days. We're like, shit, maybe this isn't it. But eventually, we ended up moving to Miami from Woodstock. We were all in Woodstock, Connecticut, a little farm town. Literally grew up on like an apple farm, cow shit smell. Couldn't make a volleyball game back like up there. So we moved to Miami, and we hit the beach every day for like a year. Burning hot sand, like crazy stuff. It sounds like, oh, great time, but like it was pretty brutal. Setting up a Crossnet every day and just like yelling at people, like hollering. So eventually, like we would set up the net, play. People would come up, ask us to play. Kids, 10-year-olds, moms, grandparents, and then eventually, like we would converse with them, right? And they'd be like, "Hey, I'm from Michigan," and then eventually, like a week later, we'd get a sale from Michigan, and we'd be like, "Oh shit, that's that person from Nikki Beach in South Beach." So we eventually got the snowball effect rolling, and then we took like we smartened up. We got to Twitter. We started running like retweets on like meme pages, and then we did some Facebook ads, and then it started doing really well from there.
Dude, that's sick. That's like your version of like door knocking. I feel like
Yeah.
just go out on the beach and play like your own game. That's pretty dope. That's actually a really cool story. But I guess when was like the can you recall, I guess, a major breakthrough of like when things really started to click, right? Because it sounded like that was still a slow burn, right? It's like you can only play and have conversations with so many people on a beach day, and you need to sell a lot more product than that to stay in business. Like was there a time where you woke up one day to like 100 sales and you didn't know where they came from or how it all happened? What'd that look like?
Yeah, that's what happened. We woke up on one like random Tuesday, and one of these videos had like 12 million views on Facebook.
Oh, wow. We
sent a Crossnet out to like a Latvia like professional volleyball player like months prior. He eventually just posted on his page. We still use the same like UGC clip to this day. 5 years later, we run ads on it. But we woke up to it and it had like 12 million views, 15 million views, and sales were coming in. We're like trying to figure out where it was because like we didn't use Facebook like that. Yeah. We were like using Instagram and Twitter and all that. So we like had to discover where it came from, and then it just kept going and going. And then we used that clip. Once we got that clip, we can just keep resurfing it on other platforms and run ads on it. So it worked perfect. And that was the moment we realized
influencer marketing and UGC. Was that like a time where you started to double down on it, or what happened after?
Absolutely. Then obviously every time we play, like we have to get clips. Like we rotate people in, so it's not the same people. Like we were doing the UGC stuff before like UGC was around.
Yeah.
So it was cool. We've always been doing it that way, and that's always what converts the best. Like better than like founders videos and informal videos. It's like user content of like people playing in their backyard with dogs in the volleyball net, like crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you were obviously coming up before TikTok was even a thing, right? Like, I'm not an eCom at all, but I feel like TikTok is like UGC on easy mode now compared to where you guys were back in the day. Talk about meme accounts though. Like you said, you would pay meme accounts to like retweet UGC to drive sales. Like if someone listening here's like meme accounts, like what the hell? Why would I want to do that? But talk about like the virality aspect of meme accounts and theme pages on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we started with the Twitter meme accounts actually. Like, so if there was like a random like parody account, we'd buy retweets from that account, and we can pay $20 for 100,000 impressions, and that's a lot, right? But they're all random people. It's not targeted. So we'd get the brand awareness out there eventually, and eventually it picked up, and then we did on Instagram. You can buy like meme shout outs on like volleyball pages, sports pages. We used to have like a list of like 20 basketball pages we just buy retweets from. Actually, we were targeting the wrong people the whole time, which is funny. We learned our lesson doing that. It was great brand awareness, following, and all that, but our real target market is actually like a 62-year-old mom. So it's funny. We always we're trying to target like the college kids with their shirts off, right? But that's not the case. We want to like put 12-year-old kids playing in the backyard and send that to their mom, and that's gonna work the best for us.
Super interesting. I guess, how did you come to that realization?
Once we started like looking into the data of like who's actually ordering this stuff, like who's ordering a Crossnet, and every time it was just like, oh, Patty from North Carolina. And
You're
so,
like, who?
So we did some research eventually, and like it's just moms buying it for their kids. Like at the end of the day, obviously there's 20, 30-year-old guys playing it, and like everyone uses Crossnet, but our main focus, we had to switch our content. Yeah.
One thing that's interesting about you is you have experience on both sides, B2B and B2C, right? Like, you're selling a product to customers, but at the same time, you're making relationships and deals with retailers to get your products in there. So I guess, like, what's your take on that? What do you enjoy more? If someone were looking to get into business, would you recommend one or the other? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, that's an extremely tough question. It's been a challenge for us. Like, we started off heavy D2C, and then once we went heavy into retail, it just messed like our attribution up. We weren't able to track properly. We run, and then you add Amazon into the mix, and then you're just like, what's going on? You need a real pro. So we had to hire some people that really knew their stuff, and to this day, like, you can't just come in and like know the right answer. It's super challenging. I would recommend retail, absolutely. Make sure you're ready for it though. Don't just run in and, I got 20 retailers. That's great. We did that with Walmart. We got placed on a shelf next to $3 footballs, and our product's $150. We busted at Walmart. Did terrible. Luckily, hopefully, we have another chance to do it again with a lower price point product, different section of the store. But that can really happen to you and mess up your whole entire business. Like, you ruin that relationship, you're done in that business for forever potentially. If it's a one SKU candy or like a food product, like, you're done. So be smart about it. Be cautious of how you go in and enter. It's a dangerous game. And then you have like the net 90 terms where you don't get paid until 90 days after it's received. Yeah. And then, but you have to manufacture it. Where do you get the money from? So you take
all upfront costs.
All upfront costs. You have to wait 90 days until they get it, and then they take their time and dilly dally, and you can't argue with them. You're not gonna fight the big box stores. Yeah, it's crazy at some points. We had a horror story actually at Sam's Club. We've gotten the Sam's Club. Awesome, great job. Super happy, right? Sam's Club.
Yeah, massive.
Dream came true. They ordered, it was like a $5 million PO, right? We're celebrating off the walls. When we make all the product, they cut it in half. So we have this exclusive product just sitting over, and Sam's Club's exclusive. You have to make like a product just designated for Sam's Club. So half the product we can't use. It's overseas, and we're just stuck with the inventory, and we paid for it already. So really, really bad, nightmares that can mess up your business for like years on hand if you don't have like proper cash in your bank account.
So how'd you guys get out of that? Like, what happened
We're
next?
still chipping away at it.
Yeah.
Still chipping away. Like, you make deals with other retailers, you discount it, you put it on Amazon, bundle deals. It's been difficult.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're still not out of it.
Gotcha.
So it's still a challenge.
It's kind of like part of entrepreneurship, though, right? Like, you're put in these tough situations, and it's like a roller coaster. You're celebrating, and then the next morning or the next week, it turns into like a huge nightmare scenario. So I guess, like, talk a little bit about, it sounds like you've been in entrepreneurship for a long time now. Like, what is that like as an entrepreneur to go through those like ups and downs? And for you, I think it's interesting because you're working with your brother, you're working with some of your best friends that you grew up with. Like, how does that maybe even help like you guys get through that together?
Yeah, we have a strong team over at Crossnet. We used to have like 20 plus employees, but we realized like that's not where we want to go with the business and like how we actually work better. We prefer to get our hands dirty and like do this stuff instead of like managing 3 people and like so. We have a great team and we all rely on each other. We all have specific roles and we we hold each other accountable and get stuff done. Working with my best friend and brother and great friends we've made along the way are just like everything to me. So like I'm glad we have the structure we have and wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. Just talk about like getting into ecom with. I mean, you had some ecom background, but it wasn't like you guys were Shark Tank angel investors that were guiding you along the way. Because I feel like it's easy to observe guys like you at the point you're at now, and it's like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. They've mastered the ecom game. But I'm sure along the way, like Sam's Club, you've had like a million learning lessons and things you've had to overcome along the way. So kind of talk about just, I guess, not faking it until you make it, but just going blindly into something and figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, I think it's super important to like go into stuff blindly too. Like you have to learn. Like you have to learn. I advise obviously talking to people before you go into these things that have experience. That's one mistake that we definitely jumped into, I think. And I'm glad we're networking now and have really good connections so we can avoid those challenges. But if you go into something, you're gonna have to figure it out. And that's the whole that's entrepreneurship to a T. Is like you have to go jump into something and figure it out the hard way. Or it could be easy, right? It could be easy process and you know how to like scale it, which is the goal. But you're gonna run into obstacles. It's challenging. Shit's hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like sitting here, like I have enough experience with agencies, coaching programs and stuff that I know if I were to start over like tomorrow, like I know exactly what I do, what I'd avoid. So I guess for you, do you feel that same way about e-commerce? Like starting this new venture with Danny Duncan, like you go into that with probably a lot more confidence than when you started Crossnet and some of these other brands?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like having Danny is a blessing too, like to keep our marketing costs down. So like you'll see him be pumping out crazy videos this year and like doing in-store retail, like come meet Danny Duncan and play Smash Net and these games we're coming out with. But no, it's great because the way like Crossnet's set up, like I was saying, we run out of SKUs, right? You only have 4 SKUs, 5 SKUs. For Good Sport, we have multiple SKUs. So a challenge that we were facing these years is like our LTV is really shitty. Like we have the mom buys it, right? And then like, what are we gonna sell her? A pool game? What if she doesn't have a pool? Then we're like stuck. Like she's gonna only play Crossnet for 10 years. Like how do we upsell her? How do we get her new stuff? There's only so much we could do with Crossnet. With Good Sport, we have tons of SKUs we're coming out with. So if I sell you a pickleball paddle next month, hopefully you're gonna buy the pickleball paddle that comes out in a year, and the next game and the Bubble Bash and all the other games that we come out with.
Stole my question. I was going to ask you how you get over such a low customer lifetime value.
There we go. That's it.
That's super interesting, though, because I feel like the brands that crush it are all consumables and subscription packages. And, you guys go through all this stuff just to acquire a customer. And then once they have your net, it's like, okay, now what? So how have you built like brand loyalty and keeping customers engaged with what you guys do, even though they're only buying from you one time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think we've done a good enough job of doing that, to be honest. Like this community is like what we're lacking for Crossnet, which is like people are surprised by that we don't have like this massive community that we can just like call upon and like try to scale with like new products that come out and stuff. Something we need to do better at is growing community. I would highly like recommend that if you're starting a DTC brand, like have a Facebook group from the launch and just like really funnel people into that, give them discounts, keep them informed about how your product is like doing, innovating. That's what we lacked in for Crossnet, and I wish we could go back in time and start a community from the beginning. And we have like this cult following. But right now, to answer your question, I guess is like we keep them updated with emails, social media.
Yeah, I'm not sure if these guys are like your ops, but I always see like Spikeball. Spikeball, yeah.
Never heard of them.
They have like I don't know if it's like a pro sports league or whatever they do, but I think that's
I was gonna say it's like pickleball. Like it's just skyrocketed because there's competition. Like there's local communities that now have like pickleball sets set up. Like is that something you're looking to get into? Is like Crossnet becoming like a sport or at least a hobby that has a league attached to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to like Spikeball, like we love Spikeball at the end of the day because they have customers that go out and play, and those people are going to buy Crossnet, right? And vice versa. Like hopefully someone buys Crossnet and they play Spikeball and they just keep staying active. So shout out to all the backyard games out there. But to answer, like going back to your question, wait, say it again. Shit.
Just about like the competition, like the tournaments, leagues, stuff like that.
Yeah. So we started actually with Crossnet wanting to be like this next like sport, right? Yeah. But we eventually like shifted it to like, hey, this is a game and let it become a sport. We were on ESPN, we did ESPN tournament. It was a $10,000 prize. We were like begging people to like volleyball pros to show up, and we're like, what are we doing? Like we shouldn't have to like beg people to come play our game that's really fun and like for cash prizes. Just because it's on ESPN. So like we need to like going back to like the community and stuff, we need to like really develop something where people start creating their own leagues, and that comes in time. It took Spikeball 15 years to get to where they are. For us, we're only in year 5. So we do have people like make little mini tournaments, college campus tournaments. Eventually it'll grow and grow, but right now it's like really hard to monetize that stuff. And you go into that and you're just like, it's a money waste.
Yeah.
You waste tons of money and you get good content, but like at the end of the day, we can get content for free from,
Yeah, I feel like you almost have to go back to your roots, like when you guys were just playing on Miami Beach, where you have to just let it start naturally with small little rec leagues and then scale from there, because I'm guessing that's what the bad company.
Voldemort, we call him.
100%. Yeah, I'm just thinking like it could be super interesting. You guys have brand ambassadors that have their own leagues or like their own variations of it. Could get super interesting. One thing that I've noticed, so like you've name dropped like pretty casually, like ESPN, Sam's Club, Walmart, Danny Duncan, like these massive brands and influencers. So I guess like how have you been able to network and build connections with people that are on like this level? Because that's a lot easier said than done, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that's just like storytelling through like social media platforms, using LinkedIn. My brother Chris, he's amazing at just cold outreaching, just like being yourself, like just being super personal with people. People don't like cold emails and cold DMs and like being robots. Like,
Yeah.
So the people see that we're genuine. Like we're young people, just made a cool game, and you guys should definitely play it. If you're not, you're messing up. And they are if they don't have it, because it's actually really fun, and we're the fastest growing backyard game in the world right now, which is really cool to say.
Yeah, we got to pick up a set and go to St. Pete Beach and run it up.
Yeah. ASAP.
So I got a hard question for you. I mean, if you invented the game, you got to be the best at it, right?
Yes. No, we played some crazy like professional volleyball athletes, and we've gotten our ass whipped, like humbled. Really, really cool stuff. Like
I would just invent new rules on the fly. So
Yeah.
dude, like pros, like
It's like beer pong. You're like house rules. You're like, I made the game. House rules. Sorry.
you can try that and they'll still kick your ass. Like, it's funny because like we didn't grow up playing volleyball, the founders, so like we're just like average. We're good athletes, but like it's a different world when you have professionals going in there just spiking it at your face. It's fun. But out of the founders, I like to say I'm the best. The Mike's pretty good too. I'll give him that. He beats me sometimes. Chris is the worst, absolute worst.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of my high school buddies ended up playing volleyball, and like they tried out as a joke as like freshmen, and by senior year they like made the state finals. So I'm kind of afraid to present this game to them because they all can jump 10 feet in the air, and I'm like more of an IQ skilled sports player than an athletic one. So.
Talk about his IQ.
My sports IQ on the court is what gets me competitive. It's not the athleticism, you know.
Smart. It's Tony Parker out there.
Yeah, Tony Parker. It's disrespectful to Tony Parker.
He's athletic. Yeah.
I'm really interested to know like what it's like running a business with your brother and like how you're able to separate business and family and friendship. Like, has that been a struggle? I'm sure there's been tough conversations that have been had over the years. Like, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like it's been a blessing. Like I don't think we've had tough conversations like that. We're just like best friends, and like we're brothers at the end of the day. Same mom, same dad, right? So it's like it's been natural. Honestly, there's been no like major hiccups between us, as unlikely as that usually is. I'm sure. Yeah, we've been great. We have great chemistry. We have the same vision for everything we do.
And was he involved since day one, like even on the first company?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. He quit the first company on us, but and he got a real job and started saving some real money. So yeah.
So it all worked out.
Yeah, he's been with us since Crossnet. Me, Mike, and Chris started Crossnet back in 2017.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's crazy, man. So us three, we all run an agency together. We all, coexist within the same company. We all have our own responsibilities, and we're always big proponents of like find people that you get along with and you can start a business with, because dividing and conquering is so much easier than one man shows. So talk to us about, how you and your brother and your other partners kind of split up responsibilities. Are you all dipping your hands in the same buckets, or are you all kind of like in your own lanes running different parts of the business?
Yeah, so Mike's in his own lane with the product and operations, and then Chris is in his own lane with marketing and sales. I'm in everyone's lane, whether that's like calling a lawyer, working on marketing, posting on social media, sitting in a product development meeting, things like that. So I'm hands on everything, and like I guess the visionary with like where we want to go and keeping the train running. But totally blessed that we have a great team of like we have a great CFO, Chris, Sander. Like we have a great team of like everyone I can rely on, and they all have their own jobs and they get it done.
So, like, what inspired you to get into entrepreneurship in the first place? Because, like you mentioned, you guys are from Connecticut. You grew up on a farm, basically. Like, where did that come from? Did you guys have an entrepreneur that you looked up to, a family member or something like that, or did it just happen organically?
Yeah, I think back in high school, my senior year, Chris was in college. He was a sophomore in a fraternity, and he got a job working for an Amazon drop shipping company. They were like the biggest at the time. They're called Portlight. Shout out Nate and Connor, my first bosses, and they were like just like these wolves out there, man. Like just taking over Amazon, like just drop shipping things from Walmart to Amazon customers, making 30% margins, like crazy stuff. And I got to list all the products and see everything, like, and that really like sparked me. Like I can do something in this space. And then eventually, one of my old friends hit me up. Let's do the Glunt company. Got into social media, and it was just like hammering away. And like from that, it was like I'm in this lane. This is what I'm doing. I went to college. I worked throughout every class in college. Didn't go to class or anything like that. Eventually dropped out, and then just went full time into the entrepreneurship route. But I would say like dipping your toes in like a business like that at first definitely sparked the interest of just like staying on the entrepreneur journey.
Yeah, I feel like most entrepreneurs reach that point of no return where you're like, all right, I don't care. I'm pot committed. I'm never not doing this again. What was that point for you where I was like, okay, there's no other route for me. I'm just going to keep starting more brands, and this is going to work out.
Well, I think when we set up the Crossnet in the backyard for the first time, we're like, wow, this is it. Like we're gonna, like we were so confident, like me, Mike, and Chris, like super confident, like this was gonna work. Like no second guesses, no regrets or anything like that.
I know you don't drink, but that's like such a drunk idea. Like, boys, we should invent this. And it's like, yeah, and then you wake up and you all do it. So that was Crossnet wasn't your first ecom experience, right?
No.
Was Glunt beforehand?
Glunt, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that because I think that's a super fascinating. Like I've heard of it way before I ever met you.
He's a big pothead, so.
Yeah, I'm not any no.
Retired.
Yeah, I was had my
It's for tobacco.
dabbled
only.
in college, but no. So just talk me through like, first of all, you don't smoke, so that's pretty crazy. Number two, like, where did you said you found it on Alibaba and you kind of just repurposed it into your own product and started selling it? Like, how did that whole thing come
Yeah,
about?
exactly. We found Alibaba, put our logos on it and shifted some things around. I forgot, it was a long time ago. But got into that, started doing the Twitter stuff, like the meme pages. Instagram was popping back then, and like the algorithm was crazy. Like we could buy a shout out from an influencer, right?
Yeah.
And like make like 40 grand. Like that doesn't happen anymore. So we scaled that like the first 2 years, a few million. And then we kind of like lost focus on it. We didn't have the passion for it. My partner went to Jamaica. I started Crossnet, right? And way more fun.
Yeah.
But a lesson you can learn from here is like, I should have sold the business, and I didn't. And that was like my biggest mistake as an entrepreneur so far, is not selling.
Did you get offers for it?
Back in the day, I'm sure people reached out to us. Yeah, but I was just too young and naive to like even think about that because I was making cash flow. And then
That's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough because I feel like you're gonna face that same like opportunity you might have already have with
Oh, yeah,
Crossnet.
yeah.
So like, how do you bring that lesson into Crossnet, which you seem way more passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, different companies, different times in my life, right? I think with Crossnet, like if that story is ever gonna end, it's gonna end on a when the business is super healthy and everything's like has forward momentum. And I know I'm passing it off to like the right person. We've entertained offers and got a lot of people out there copying us and stuff like that. It's not easy to let your baby go though.
Yeah, 100%. That's why like you have like a whole different, I feel like POV on Crossnet. Like you don't want to let go of that one. Where the other one, you kind of lost interest and it is what it is. But I guess the competition piece is super interesting too because like getting into e-commerce, there's lots of competition between all types of products. Crossnet obviously was like an innovation from the ground up. So like, what are the important things to consider when you have something that is unique early on? Like, what's the right move? Do you get a patent? Like, what are the steps you'd recommend?
Yeah, it's a good question. People ask me that now. It's like, do you get a patent, Greg? And I think it depends on the product. If you're not confident in that patent, do not get that patent, I would say. If you have like a high tech product, like you're making some tech product, like my friend's making one now for like a dog company, and he's got patents, and it's like you need to get those. You cannot get ripped off. But like for like Crossnet, if I can go back, like probably want to get a patent because we've had numerous knockoffs just take, we've seen our Amazon market share just like literally get taken over like 60-70% at points.
Wow.
And we're just losing millions of dollars. And you can't do anything because they go around the patent or, you just don't have money to fight with these big dogs. And like, you're not supposed to be like going out of your way to like do illegal stuff. Like I'm supposed to be selling Crossnets.
Yeah.
And that's my focus. So going down that rabbit hole and like doing all the legal lawsuit stuff is like nightmare.
Yeah, I feel like it's not even worth it at some point. Like if you're in a lawsuit with like Amazon or Target, like you might win, but you will also burn an entire year where you could be building the business and making the product better or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's a huge risk to even go down that route too. So
They're just gonna wait you out. They'll just keep kicking the can and.
exactly, and they have way more money than us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And they also have the best lawyers.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a tough thing to do when you're starting a business. It's like you have to definitely get your trademarks, get your websites in all these countries. We've gotten like jacked in like Crossnet EU. Some dude's trying to hold us hostage. You're like, dude, we're just like make a different URL. It's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. But yeah, we've definitely faced some crazy like IP stuff.
Yeah, so let's talk about competition for a little bit. What's your guys' thought process on do I attack the competitors straight up? Do I not give them any traffic and just not mention them at all? Like, how do you? Is it like on a case by case basis? How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, we just don't give them attention. You never want to just like give your competition attention at all. At the end of the day, we do have the better product. Like physically, it's like a better material. It's like they would never try to come at our price point at 150 because they would lose every time. Because if you see Crossnet in the wild, you saw a Crossnet or you saw an ad, you know it's Crossnet. So what a lot of people do is they see a Facebook ad, like the typical mom, she'll like see a Facebook ad and then she'll go on Amazon to price check it. And she'll forget what she just saw, and she'll type in 4-way volleyball net, and then the competition pops up on Amazon next to ours, and it's like, $20 cheaper, $50 cheaper at some points, but they get a shitty product, which hurts me because I know they're actually like some of those products break. Like I've had calls and people be like, "Yo, your product broke." They send me a photo, and it's like a knockoff from like Franklin Sports, and it's like, wow, like you got to buy the real stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I just want to go more into like ecom in general because it's really fascinating to me. Like a lot of our clients are, Klaviyo agencies, TikTok ads agencies, UGC guys, Google ads. Like there's such a massive like ecosystem of ecom brands, ecom customers, ecom service providers, like all these softwares like Triple Whale. Like where do you see the future of e-commerce going? Because I feel like at this point it's just so massive with so many brands out there that it's unlike anything anyone could have ever pictured a couple of years ago. So do you think e-com is going to continue to rise, or do you think there's going to be a point where there's just so many brands out there, it's hard to like make your mark?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I have the answer. I think we'll see if I'm right. A lot of the brands that are starting, they're going to fall off, and like you're going to only succeed if you like really have like this community behind you, or you have like an influencer backed brand, like what we did with Danny. So there's like two different routes. Like if you have a loyal fan base and you can keep your LTV alive and like things like that. But if you just have like the basic brand and you're just running Facebook ads, TikTok ads, like I don't think you're gonna survive for long because these things change every day. We see TikTok used to be great for us and then it just died one day. It's picking back up I think now, but some brands face that every day and they don't have retail, they don't have an influencer, they don't have a community to call on. So they'll see the real struggles coming up before you can just run ads and just make cake. Like that's not the case anymore, especially with like the iOS updates and stuff.
Yeah, it's way tougher now. I'm interested, like your perspective on building a community. Like, what does that actually look like in the real world? Is it like going to retailers and setting up like pop-ups, like what Logan Paul and KSI are doing? I feel like that's really working for them, like doing events and like going to the actual retailers. Same with like Happy Dad, Nelk. Like those are a massive hit. Like they do like launch parties at the stores. Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's more like the influencer side of things, like with Danny. So like when we get into like a big retail store, like Danny's gonna show up and be like, hey, meet and greet for like SmashNet or main
sick.
or league
Yeah,
game,
that's sick.
and then he'll have 1,000 people show up and he'll sign the SmashNets or whatever. We'll do that. Those are like activations, retail activations, which like you can do for retailers. Some of them, not all of them. For community, like to answer your question about community, is like, can I call on 10,000 people at once to come out to St. Pete Beach and come play Crossnet with us? Right now, I can probably get like 8 people, maybe 20 people.
We'll be there.
They'd show up.
Yeah, you guys, 23. But I want like 2,000, right? So at the end of the day, like you need to have like a strong community that you can call on. Whether it's I've seen crazy brands out there like my buddy Brock who does Frost Buddy, the beverage company, like the cans. You put your cans in it and it's like keeps it cold and hot. He's got a crazy like Facebook community, which is like really cool to try to replicate. Different products though, it's tough.
That's interesting. For a product like that, he's got a massive community.
Yeah. It's awesome. There's a bunch of other brands out there too that you see. Like I think like Athletic Greens has a bunch.
Oh yeah, Athletic. They got the Rogan sponsorship.
Yeah, they got.
That's where it's at.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of good communities out there if you like search and like get like even in the Twitter network that you can find them.
Yeah, it's so hard to put like a value on community because like for Client Ascension, yeah, we have all this content and these coaches, but I think the biggest value add and the biggest benefit is just the community. Right, like you can wake up and post in one of our Slack chats and just get responses from a bunch of people and connect with people, make friends, and I just feel like that's so slept on. So I know you kind of mentioned it, but like where do you see Crossnet's community in 3 to 5 years from now? Like what's the vision behind that?
Yeah, I see it built out, and we're able to like call on like tournaments and like pop up tournaments, and hey, we're in Austin, let's get 50 people out here and let's do a tournament for $1,000, and then having people do it for us, right? Licensing our brand, getting on more like ESPN TV shows. That's probably like in the 5-year vision.
Yeah, one of like the larger trends I've noticed in ecom, which I think is going to stay, and I'm interested to hear your take on this, is like influencer-driven brands, where that connection is already, with Logan Paul and KSI, so people are going to drink Prime, and with the Nelk Boys, so they're going to drink Happy Dad. Now you guys are doing the same thing with Danny. I think it's a great play because the trust is already there, like the community is already pre-built. How do you get in touch with a guy like Danny, and like how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so we were actually trying to get Danny to do a video for Crossnet one day. Our intern at Crossnet, he's like, "Oh, I love Danny Duncan. Let me send him a Crossnet and reach out to him." He reached out to his manager. His manager Stefan reached back out, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll do a video. Danny likes the product, well, so we'll do it. It's like I think he said 50, 70 grand or something like that." And we're like, "Whoa, like no, maybe like 20. We'll take a risk, $20, 20,000." He's like, "Fuck no." So we ended up, Chris ended up connecting with him on like LinkedIn or something like that, texting. Danny sent him a care package of all the stuff. We ended up meeting up at him at his Los Angeles house, and we're like, "Yo, let's just like," we were brainstorming ideas. He's like, "Let's just make a company together. Like, you guys have all these ideas. I'm like a crazy YouTuber. I do like sports and all my videos. Let me just sell them. Like, let's sell them together." So we came up with some ideas, and we've launched SmashNet, Backyard Pong, Bubble Bash so far, and we have a list of, a bunch of products we want to drop this year, next year, all different seasons, indoor, outdoor. Yeah, but that's how the relationship
That's
started.
exciting. That's got to fire you up as somebody who's like originally, like you said, kind of like an inventor. Like it's almost like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, he's super down. He's like down to earth, chill guy. Like he's very cautious about what he puts in his videos. So if you watch, like he doesn't do like those ads.
Yeah.
No Mr. Beast ads or anything like that. So like it's really cool that like he wants to do this with us, and we've had a great relationship so far, and we're excited for like retail. And
Yeah.
I feel like your guys' dream product appearance would be in like a Dude Perfect video.
Dude, perfect.
Dude, those guys are massive.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy.
How do you manage like running both those companies now and like avoiding conflicts of interest as well?
Yeah, avoiding conflicts of interest is the hardest part because they're separate entities. Very difficult. Like, not gonna lie, like that's been like a nightmare in the back end of stuff. But as far as like operating, like you're pretty much operating like the same business, just different content, right? Like we know what we have to do for content, we know what we have to do for product development. Like we just need, it's just a different SKU essentially.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple. Yeah.
Like it's not hard to like transition back and forth during the day. It's a lot of the same stuff.
Same stuff, and then we have the same team pretty much. So it's like
That's cool.
So we just have to like switch Slack channels. Yeah.
Is that what you guys use? Like, how is it running like a remote team and working with Danny? He lives in LA full time, or
No,
bouncing around?
he lives in Inglewood and then he lives in LA.
Okay. So yeah, well, like I guess what's that like running a remote team for a business that is primarily like a physical product, right?
Yeah, I mean it has its challenges. Like I said, like before, we had like 20 plus employees, and like at the end of the day, like they're not working 8 hours a day. Because like some days I don't work 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not working 8 hours. We don't have proper management. Some of our guys are good at managing, but at the end of the day, like we have a core team, and like we all have our jobs and we know what we need to do. Ideally, it would be nice to have like more offsites and like get in person. Like in the perfect world, we'd all be together working every day, close to like you guys are.
Yep. So I want to talk about something like a pretty interesting concept, right? Because I saw a tweet one day, and some guy's like, no dopamine hit is as good as that first Shopify sale, that first dollar you make from like completely a random customer. So like for nowadays for you, like I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but like you have a X amount of dollar revenue day. 5 years ago, that would have made you the happiest guy on earth, and now you're just like, oh, it's another day. So like, what is the what would be something that would excite you at this stage of the game? Like, is it a major partnership? Is it teaming up with an influencer? Is it I don't know, getting a shout out on ESPN or Dude Perfect? Like, what moves the needle for you in terms of like excitement and getting you pumped up?
Yeah, I think just making like good relationships with like top tier people, whether that's a retailer, like a House of Highlights, or a Pickleball.com, right? Like these
Yeah.
things that we want to get on are untouched for us. So we've scraped the surface with like ESPNs and all that. Those are cool. We get on that once in a while, but like getting like a retail order from like a new customer, right? Or even getting a retail order from, Dick's Sporting Goods again, and the order is 20% bigger. Like that is like a major accomplishment. Like companies don't get that. That's just an example, but like that happens with us and like Academy Sports, like these big retailers that some people don't even know about. It's so hard to maintain healthy levels and even increase them from 1 to 2 years.
So was that first like big retail order the moment where you were like, holy shit, like we did it, like we're really onto something here, and this is going to be a movement?
Yeah, definitely. When we first got into Shields out in the west, like Utah. So we flew out to Utah. Sandy Shields was the first store Crossnet was ever in. They took us like. Our box was so ass, like I think my mom designed that shit probably, but it was so bad, and like I was so embarrassed it was in the store. Like so we hit the stores and we went to visit, and we're like, yeah, we took a video. We're in Crossnet, we're in Shields, Crossnet's in Shields. We had like 10 units there at like 4 different stores. They took a chance on us, and then we went to the store and we were all excited. And then after it was like, we need to change this box ASAP. Like what are we doing? So like that was like. Awesome, and then at the same time we're like, we need to wake up though. Like we're not gonna stay in the store if that box is looking like that. So you have to make changes when you get into these stores too, like retail displays and like what can you do to like keep sell through going. And eventually one day Shields called us after like we probably running ads all summer. Shields calls Chris out of the blue. It's like, hey, we need to like reorder. You guys just sold out of like all your stores. I don't know what happened. And like Utah goes crazy for Crossnet. Everyone in Utah knows what a Crossnet is and plays it. We go to Utah, it's like freaking Justin Bieber. It's awesome. But it's cool. It's really cool. And Utah shows us a lot of love. And Shields was our first store, so always shout out to Shields.
Dude, that's a cool origin story. Utah is pretty dope. We were there.
Yeah, we went. What was that?
We escaped when there was like supposed to be a big hurricane here. We kind of like pussied out because.
And ironically, we went to
Vegas.
Hurricane, Utah. We
Oh yeah.
flew to,
And I went into the
to get away from
hurricane.
the hurricane.
So I went to Charleston, South Carolina, and then the hurricane followed me up the coast, and I had to evade it on the way back. So that was fun.
It's a beautiful place.
That was a low IQ move. Should have. Well, you did come to
No,
Vegas.
the thrill of it was sick. I like went on Apple Maps and I like saw which town wasn't going to get rain. And
Storm
I, like,
chasing.
skirted it. Yeah.
The opposite. The opposite.
It sounds like you travel a lot though. Is that like a big part of like your life and what you ideal lifestyle?
Yeah, I don't know if it's ideal, but I think like once you get to this point, like since I started traveling a lot, and I have like these travel pages where I like travel for free.
Oh, that's dope.
So I get hotels for free, and like it's hard to say no.
Put us on, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah, talk about that.
So
So,
you just
like-
have like theme pages and stuff?
Yeah, theme pages, and like you just reach out to hotels and you make content, and my girlfriend makes content. She's great at it, and we take cool videos, and we get to stay for like 3 nights, 5 nights, and whether it's Greece or Oregon or wherever, you name it, Dubai,
Utah.
So we get to travel a lot for free that way too, which is great, and it saves me cost. But I think at this point it's like adrenaline, like it keeps me inspired. And I think that's like it's like science. Like if you're on the airplane, you're in the shower, you think the most, and that's where you brainstorm the most. And like so, if you keep traveling, it's the same thing for traveling. So if you travel, that's where I get inspired. But it is also nice, having
Dude,
a home too.
those notes on the airplane hit different.
They do. They really do.
Like actually, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The offline Google Docs.
No, just the
I.
iPhone
the
notes
notes,
app,
bro.
dude. It's
always
Notes on the
crazy.
plane.
Google Docs app
Yeah.
Dude,
offline.
it's
Yeah.
actually crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go and just start scrolling through. I'm like, oh my god, I'm
Yeah.
a genius.
I think I've had like 4 product ideas from the shower alone.
Well, where's been like the coolest place to travel to recently?
Recently, my brother just got married in Italy in the Amalfi Coast, which is
That's,
amazing.
like,
Beautiful.
We rented,
That's
we
sick.
rented out a village in Ravello, and well, he did, not me. And we had like 100 people there, and it was just
It's a
like
lot to live up to.
was-
Where are you
yeah.
gonna do your
oh,
wedding?
backyard, man.
Yeah,
Something easy.
backyard.
But yeah, that
Backwoods
was
of Utah.
Or the Crossnet?
I'm down. Yeah, that was the coolest place I've been recently. But yeah, I've been all over. I would recommend Iceland. That's really cool for like 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Costa Rica and like Belize, that area too. I
I'm
like
going to Costa Rica in April. I'm
to
pumped.
go caving.
Oh,
I love
my
going
aunt
caving.
lives there, so I'm just letting her
let her
travel
Go
guide me.
caving?
Yeah, go caving with headlamps and like you fit between like the
Oh, I'm out.
small crevices.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Claustrophobic.
Dude, it's
Nah,
a
I'm out.
life-changing
Dude,
experience.
I did that in
did that for
Lebanon, and it was not safe at all.
No.
There is no way that was safe. Nothing there is safe, but like especially caving.
Yeah.
It's like
So talk more about the travel pages. Is this like something you've just had for years?
Yeah.
Like, how do you build that up?
Yeah. So you guys know Joel, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he had a page called @Planet, right? And then we bought @Earths from someone, and then we have like all these. And I partnered
dude, do you
with my
know
other friend.
Anthony Santiago?
No. It was Eric Damier.
Eric Damier was another one. We're pretty tied in with a lot of these guys that did
if I see
similar
him.
stuff.
If I see him, maybe.
Yeah.
So we have a network of like
Damiers.
1 million followers, 2 million followers, whatever it is. But it's only on Instagram right now, and we all
Do
know
you
how
keep
that's
that
going.
up with Crossnet too?
Oh, I
Like-
just have VAs post on it.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
like pull content from other places.
Yeah, we just swap. There's a bunch of there's like
Dude.
100 like pages you can just copy.
We
from.
had a friend that worked for Gary Vee, and part of like Gary Vee's businesses is like he's got a media company, and the media company owned a bunch of theme pages on Instagram, and we were just like going around New York City with one of the food accounts, and we'd like go to the nicest restaurants and just show like the manager, and they'd just like treat you like a king.
Dude, we had a food account
Oh my God.
in Miami when we first
dangerous.
moved there. We would get breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free every day.
You gotta grow a TikTok, bro.
Bro, it's
We need free
nuts.
meals.
Yeah, get a TikTok and buy a TikTok and just change the name or do something.
That might be a good investment.
Dude,
just for
shout
the
out.
free
We should
meals.
talk to Sam Heedy. Shout out a client ascension student, but he gets massive retainers for restaurants to run their TikTok for them.
Really?
Sure, you could help us
That's
grow
really
a page.
sick. That's awesome. Yeah,
Might be a
definitely.
high IQ
Dude,
play just to get free dinner.
Bro, it's crazy. We've had $1,000 bills in Aspen, like you name it, like crazy places, like meat market, just like bringing bottles out, like nuts stuff. Yeah, it's really cool.
Shit.
You got to make sure you have someone that can actually take content. You know, it's like
What was the
ripping them
pitch at Meade Market? Just like, hey, I'll.
Oh,
put-
dude, you just mass DM. You have VAs DM people like, hey, we live in Miami.
We'd love to
come.
feature your restaurant on our page. It's
That's it.
Like, what is the content? Like the steak coming out all sizzly and
Oh, yeah,
stuff?
yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly.
It's so simple. It
It's
already
so
looks
easy.
good.
You're gonna take the video anyways.
Yeah, you're gonna take the video. Yeah, this guy every time food comes out, he's already doing the work.
Phone eats first.
Dude, yeah, but it was actually getting to a point where it was like a job because like
Yeah.
you'd have to keep up and like you'd have appointments for restaurants, and then we did that for like a year straight. Like
I gotta go out
like
to dinner
6 of
again
us.
for free tonight. Come on.
Dude, 6 of us in Miami. It was crazy. Yeah, that slowed down though, and we eventually changed it to like Planet travel pages instead, which is like more, you know.
What is that
beneficial.
domain worth? Like @Planet on Instagram? That's probably like a $10,000 username.
Probably 10. It's probably 10 grand now. Probably it used to probably be way more back in the day. Probably like
Yeah.
40K,
Yeah.
50K, but like Instagram sucks now.
Discovery Channel's like, who the
I
fuck
feel like
is
that's
this
the,
Greg Meade
like
guy?
the biggest hack in social media is just like come up with a theme page like basketball dunks, then just like post old videos that
Yeah.
like you didn't even touch.
Yeah, we have a bunch of pages owned by like Good Sport and Crossnet, like 30 pages. They're all just sports pages, and we just post our content on it.
Yeah, it's
here and there,
smart.
just to keep the momentum going. But it's tough to do that too because you have to hire VAs, and then like I can only say it so many times. Instagram sucks now.
Yeah, yeah.
What's like the platform you're spending more time on now? Would you say?
Good question. Just running meta ads, I guess, is like a real focus, and like optimizing for like different countries. Like we're in Australia now, which is like really cool, and it crushed for us in the winter because it's their summer and it's their Christmas, so it's like double holiday same time. Australia, our H2O version, our pool vault model, could not stay in stock, sold out in Australia. So we're so excited for that, like to scale again next year and like this year too. But now we have to focus on like different channels and stuff, and like we're in Europe.
So one thing we heard nonstop, because we work with a lot of e-commerce service providers like Klaviyo agencies, influencer marketing agencies, was about the iOS 14, I believe it was, update. How big of an impact did that actually have?
It was big. Yeah, overnight changed our ads and we started losing money, I think. And then we had to make some changes. And then eventually we started tweaking our content, got some new people in-house, new agencies and stuff like that. And it's still impacting everyone's business.
With, I guess, worse tracking, is it just a matter of doubling down on better creative, or?
I don't think anyone has an answer. But for us, what we found is like we try to like run a lot of tests on our content and figure out what is best, right? And then what can we do to improve that same content? How can we make the same content look similar? Can me and Chris talk in a video before that content comes on? Things of that nature. Yeah, it's challenging.
And was it something where like you cognitively were like, okay, we need to put less of our eggs in this basket and focus more on email marketing and focus more on, getting this in the hands of influencers?
Absolutely. And then I think once that happened, it's like, hey, we can't put our eggs in this basket, right? Like, we can't put all of our eggs there. We have retail to focus on. How can we grow our accounts that we currently have? How can we get more accounts, right? Like, I have a lead list right now. Like, every day I still LinkedIn DM people from different countries, different, tennis stores now because we have pickleball coming out, Australia pool stores, just making connections that way. Going back to the community, which we had a community to really fall back on, so we're going to try to grow that out this year too.
You said you have pickleball coming out?
Pickleball, Foursquare pickleball, and it's
Foursquare pickleball?
sounds sick.
Oh, damn.
dude, it's the most fun Crossnet game, I think. I could be biased because I'm sick of the
That's
volleyball
gonna
version.
pop off.
But dude, it's fun. Have you guys played pickleball?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like it's just kitchen based though, so you can't spike it. So you have to
gotcha.
let it bounce, and every shot is just like strategy.
It's like finesse.
It's finesse. Every
That's
shot.
sweet.
And it's like Foursquare where like
It's
you
Foursquare.
just advance up to the.
You play the same rules as Crossnet. And,
Yeah.
you know, 4 squares, and then if you mess up, you go to the back of the line. You play to 11.
That's
Like 2.
cool.
And it helps you. Like, it practices like your kitchen
so
shots.
you can only score if you're in the king spot. or
Only
like
score in the king spot.
ace
Yeah.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about the rules. If you guys have
I think that's interesting though because like when you build an e-commerce product, like having a complementary like accessory to go with it, like classic example of like a shaver with razors.
Yep.
Like you buy a shaver once, but you buy razors like every single week. It's kind of like pickleball paddles as opposed to like volleyball. You're just playing with your hands.
That's true.
Like is that part of the strategy as well?
Yeah.
Would you say like tennis rackets, right? Like nobody just has one tennis racket if they're playing tennis. They're always
Exactly.
buying the new ones, the best ones.
Yeah, you need the best ones.
and you
bro.
need 4 for Crossnet. So
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, we launched the pickleball paddles actually like
There's
last
4,
month.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We launched like two nice paddles last month. They're doing okay. And then there's 4 paddles that come with the set too, which comes out in like 15 days.
That's exciting.
Like, we'll find out when it launches.
So, what's your take on getting the brand built up? Well, I know you don't really like posting on social, but like having the founders have their own personal brand behind the actual brand itself.
Oh, I think it's super important. Chris has been Chris has done a great job of doing that the last 2 years and just building up his community. Like he has a dinner tomorrow in Austin we're going to, and like he's hosting it with his friend Aaron from Hush. So it helps us big time. And we have like the 30 under 30 title on LinkedIn, and like we just abuse it because like people respond to that. So it's great. But yeah, it's super important to grow your network out. Like I regret not building it out like 10 years ago when I first started. Yeah. So like that's a big mistake. I try to post now and get active and do podcasts and stuff. But it's like it's very important, especially nowadays. You need like a lot of founders are growing the brands through themselves rather than the product.
Yep. Agreed 100%. So what I want to leave off on personally is, we're all young and everyone's always in a rush and in a hurry to get big. And as Gary Vee said, like, you're young as fuck, you got to be patient. Like, what's your take on working hard and trying to move quickly and, become successful, but also realizing that, we're all still young. We got a long way ahead of us. Just staying persistent and realizing that it'll pay off if you just stay with it.
Yeah, no, that's fact though. If you just stay persistent and like everyone says, like, oh, if you just keep posting, like you'll do good. It's like actually that's true. If you keep posting, if you keep like grinding on your business, it's gonna pay off. And I would recommend like if you have a profitable business and your time's done with it, you think like mentally, like sell it and then go on to the next thing and keep growing that way. But if you have a business like a legacy business that like Crossnet, we think Crossnet can last for hundreds of years, and like our
That's sick.
kids are playing it right in their backyard when they come home from school. That's the mission for us.
Super powerful. Damn. That'd be so dope. Like 200 years from now, people are just playing Crossnet
Yeah.
in like the metaverse or some shit.
Hopefully not. The
Yeah, wait,
metaverse.
when's the metaverse product coming out?
Dude, I don't know if we'd launch that. Like, I'm so sick of the phones and like the
Yeah.
computers, bro. Like, that's the big thing that like just like kills me at the end of the day. Like, I talk to my girlfriend all day. I'm like, let's put down the phones. Like you sleep next to the phone, right? Like, you wake up, you check your phone because you're in a
Yeah.
panic. It's like
That's why I love playing stuff like basketball, Crossnet. You're just like, you're
Dude.
not. I feel like the only reason you're so glued to your phone is because it's a natural reaction. But if you're distracted by swinging a golf club or shooting a basketball, like you're not. You could go 4 hours without checking your phone, and it just feels.
you're in your zone. And like,
Yeah.
that's how it was when we were kids. And like, the kids aren't feeling that anymore. Like, they're going to their phones and on TikTok rather than going home and playing basketball 2v2 versus their friends in the driveway,
Until there's a fist fight, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
it's nuts to think about that.
Great
Like,
time.
25 years from now, that'll probably be your number one competitor. Like, you guys are gonna beat off or beat.
pause.
Mr. Producer, we may have to
towards
edit
the
that.
end of the podcast.
I mean,
you
it
say some
just
such shit
it's
like
been
that.
a long day, guys. But you guys beat out every physical Crossnet competitor, and now like your number one competitor is like somebody who just has like a Crossnet VR game where it's just inside of a headset.
Yeah, hopefully we make it and we don't get ripped off from that one. But yeah, I mean that's the reality of what it's going to for everyone, right? Like
It's such a two-sided sword though, because social media is what drives so many sales, and
yeah,
so.
it is. But like also like we'd survive. I'm confident we'd survive without the internet. So if you have a business, like ask yourself that: would you survive without the internet? Yes or no? And like if it's no, like make some changes.
Damn.
Right?
We need email, bro.
Yeah.
You need to like buy a property in Utah and just bring out all of client attention
Yeah.
there.
It's crazy to think about though, like, because that all can get, TikTok can get banned tomorrow, right? Like
Yeah.
things like that change.
I feel like that's why the community aspect's so important.
Yeah, it is.
Because like you're talking even about ads and like the iOS changes, like if Facebook ads screw up, then and if that's like the crux, you're screwed. But I feel like if you own the audience, right? It's kind of like the theme is like owning the audience or the community. You can always have like that direct line of communication with them, and it doesn't really change for you.
Yeah.
Which is not easy though, because you got to build trust, you got to have a good product, you got to be good people.
Yeah, the product has to be good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't be
product's
selling
gotta be
shit.
good.
A lot of these companies sound like dirt,
Like Mr.
drinks and
Beast.
stuff. Like, have you tried that?
The
Feasible?
Yeah, no, the burgers.
Oh, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, it's not.
That was
We wanna get him
that
on
was when
here
he was
with
just doing.
He's gonna come on here because now he heard that. He's gonna prove that it is.
We had that early when he was just doing like the ghost kitchens. Now he actually has like physical.
Oh yeah, I
kitchens
think
that
that's
go
where
on.
he messed up. He did the ghost kitchens. I don't
I mean,
think
it's
it really messed
super
up.
smart
That's how it
during
started.
COVID though.
Yeah, yeah.
You got media distribution throughout the whole entire United States. Oh, one question that I wanted to ask: would you guys ever open up your own retail store? Like the more you roll out your product line, like
That's sick. That's a good question. I think maybe in like 5 years when we have hundreds of products.
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see how retail
Could
is,
be
right?
interesting.
All the retail stores might be closed.
Yeah, they might
that's
not
true.
exist anymore.
So we'll see. That'll be really cool. I mean, when we first started like the Good Sport, I had like visions of like opening like these sports bars where like it's like a good sport bar and like
Like Top Golf
Good
kind of
sport bar.
concept.
yeah, or something like that.
Open like a trampoline park and just have all your games,
yeah.
everywhere.
It's
I
pretty
feel
much
like-
What about
like-
trampoline Crossnet? Could that be a thing?
actually someone actually pitched us that before. Yeah, Foursquare on the trampoline. I said
Dude, that
that's
would
probably very dangerous.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look at that and
But a lot of
get,
fun.
get some insurance.
I feel like those Top Golf concepts, like the Tiger Woods got like the putt one,
Yeah.
like people love those because you could go to the bar,
Yeah.
eat. It's kind of just like a place to hang out, and you have like the sport.
That's
aspect
what
as
I would
well.
love in the future and like sell like milkshakes and not like always alcohol because like Danny doesn't drink either. Danny doesn't drink or smoke.
I don't
So
know about milkshakes, bro. You want people throwing up
hell
everywhere?
yeah. I grew up drinking chocolate milkshakes and just playing sports. So if I can live that out, like that'd be great.
That's dope, bro. I guess what would you leave the audience with if they're looking to get into entrepreneurship, or let's just say more specifically e-commerce, because that's the unique angle I think we can take here.
Let me think about this for a second. So, someone wants to get into e-commerce. Make sure you have a good partner to rely on. Make sure you're making the right moves in the beginning, and you may not know what those right moves are until you you run into those challenges. So talk to people that are professionals, have been through this, and make sure you have cash in the bank and you have a runway, and you're not selling equity, or you sell equity and you get cash, and you make sure you have a good game plan, and scale it that way. But you don't want to run into problems with cash in the first few years, or you're gonna bite yourself in the ass and you won't have a business.
Yeah. Actually, last question that's super like time relevant too is like with the looming recession and just the way the economy is going, how has that like impacted the business, and what changes have you made as a result?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like very important question, because our Crossnet was $150 like until now, and we're changing the price to $99.
Oh wow.
So this is going to clear out all the copycats that at the $99 price point. We're going to get 100% market share back. It's probably a move we should have done regardless of recession or not. But it's going to help in all factors. We're going to get our market share back. We're going to sell more units. Retailers will be happier. It's a win. We're confident in it. We did the math, and if we'll sell more than we would have at the $150 price point. So we're excited to introduce that in this recession we're going through. People, they don't have money for food, let alone Foursquare volleyball nets. So it's it's tough.
Yeah, for sure.
We've
dude.
been impacted for sure.
Well, lots of cool insights, unique, especially because we don't know a lot of guys that have like some of the biggest e-commerce brands online or the biggest travel theme pages. So we appreciate you sharing all that wisdom and just vibing with us and having to deal with his really immature comments.
Being off the
but-
competition. It's an interesting strategy.
Dude, no, the one thing you guys, you ever listen to Part of My Take?
Yeah.
Dude, you got to get an ad on there one day. That'd be so lit.
That'd be fun. We did a Barstool ad one time.
Really?
Flopped.
Oh,
Jesus.
flop.
Yeah.
All these guys want to do is drink beer. That's
Well,
probably why.
62-year-old moms aren't listening to Barstool, so
Yeah,
you know your
exactly.
audience.
Yeah.
But last question is, where can our audience find you, follow you, and learn more about everything you guys are working on and coming out with?
Yeah, you can buy a Crossnet at crossnetgame.com. You can buy one of our Good Sport products at playgoodsport.com. You can follow me on Instagram socials at woeismeade. Like woe is me, but with my last name.
That's WOE.
IS.
Check the show notes. Links will be there.
Right there.
Link in the description. Like and subscribe.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Love you guys.